Nice. Yeah, it feels good to be back. I feel like I'm home on this bike. Yeah, it feels so nice. Alright, I am back at Maple Springs on my 1300 GS, which I finally have back after weeks of trying other bikes, rental bikes, off-road. So interestingly, when I got back on the bike, when I picked it up at the dealer, it was instantly a feeling of insane comfort. I mean, in general, the geometry, but I think a lot of it was the lowered pegs. They're like the Enduro pegs in low mode, so it's a lot less cramped, which makes the bike feel so much more comfortable. So that was a good feeling. This is going to be the first time going off-road, so my interest here is how is this going to feel, right? In my previous video a few weeks ago with the KTM, I think it was in that video, I was talking about how, you know, there's some difference. It's a little easier to do what I want to do off-road, but for the most part it didn't really affect what I can do in the kind of riding that I do. And I made a comment around the sort of what I think of in my head as the sort of headphone effect, where back in the day when cheap headphones were much worse than they are today, you would have a headphone that's not really good, and then you would try headphones that were really good and get used to them, and they seemed good, they were noticeably better, but it wasn't necessarily huge, like it didn't feel like a huge difference. And then when you switch back to the bad headphones after having been gotten used to the good ones, they felt so bad, right? So I'm curious whether after the KTM experience and so on, and also the Africa Twin last week, am I going to be in a situation when I'm switching back, I'm going to feel like actually the 1300 is noticeably worse. I mean, I shouldn't say noticeably, because it's going to be noticeably worse than the KTM, but it's significantly worse, so to speak, even for my kind of riding. If there is that bias of like going from the better to the worse feels like a bigger change than going from the worse to the better. So that's what I'm interested in today. So we shall see. So far I'm definitely liking the standing position. It feels just as comfortable as I remembered it. I even removed my tank bag. That was actually one thing that I did notice. Speaking of the headphone effect, I've been having this tank bag, which, you know, it's fine, I can ride with it standing, but it does bump in and it's kind of slightly annoying. But having ridden bikes without that for a while, I became more sensitive to it. So I was like, oh wow, this is actually more annoying now that I've been sort of deconditioned from it. So I'm actually riding without a tank bag now. But the standing position otherwise, it's feeling as good as I remember it. So far it's nice, but still I'm not actually off-road yet, so we'll see what happens when we start going through some more bumpy terrain and things like that, and the suspension starts mattering, etc. I just realized I forgot to put my brake lever in, my rear brake lever in off-road mode. The horror! That is one of my favorite things on the bike, in terms of how I've got it set up, that the ease with which I can reach that lever when I'm standing. It's lowered foot pegs in combination with the lever itself having in that heightened off-road position. It's really nice. The downside is it's too much for sitting, so you have to be very careful. It's very easy to over brake when you're sitting, so it's not comfortable at all in that sense, but it's so much better for standing. Nice. Yeah, it feels good to be back. I feel like I'm home on this bike. I mean, this trail, once the dirt starts, it starts on the sort of fairly sharp, slightly off camber turn on incline with some whoops in it, so it's kind of a difficult turn. So, and the immediate feeling was just that, yeah, this is so much more at home. I'm used to it, even though it's been several weeks. I feel like I know what's up, and it feels good to ride. And the standing position, right? Like right now I'm in the balanced position, right? I'm not pulling the handlebars out, like I'm just doing the sort of weightless rider thing, some people call it, I guess, where I'm just up on top of the bike, not really pulling in any direction, and I'm able to have the bike move beneath me, and you know, it's comfortable. I'm sure it can be tweaked a little. I'm probably going to experiment with angling the handlebars a little bit further down, but there's already fairly down, so I'm sure it can be better. But yeah, it's just nice. It's just so nice. Yeah, I really definitely feel more confident, even though it's been several weeks and this is the first time. That was another thing that I was really wondering, like, would it still feel, would I go back to feeling like it's the next rental bike and it just takes a while to get used to it, or and that's not the case. I feel quite naturally at home on it now, very quickly, or pretty much immediately, more or less, within seconds. That's a shoe. Yeah, it feels so nice. I mean, I think the 790, if the handlebars were in a different position, I think it might feel similarly nice. I will see. Maybe I'll end up getting the opportunity to try that 890 off-road at some point. But yeah, it just feels so nice. I don't even know if I want to do a water break. I just want to keep going. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna take a break though. All right. Contrary to my previous video on the Africa Twin, I am not worrying about traction control as I go through these. Nice. Feels good. Feels good. Well, my left mirror just shook loose. I guess it wasn't nicely attached. Oh, several people here apparently. This is actually a Friday leading into the Labor Day weekend, so I figured a fewer people than usual, but we've seen a few on the trail, and obviously a bunch of people here at the peak. Bumping into my freaking windshield. That's the one thing. I would like a button that just completely dematerializes the windshield, and then a button to get it back. Well, I noticed the camera was very dusty, the camera lens, so hopefully the footage from the ride up was usable. We shall see. Yeah, felt good going up all the way. Really liking being back on the bike. It's not that I've lost interest in evaluating maybe getting an 890 or something like that, but it's freaking nice to be back. So easy to get the rear brake on this one. It's nice. I kind of want to play on those. I'll do it, but sometime when I'm not necessarily solo, just in case. Although it doesn't seem like there's any real danger of like getting properly stuck. Trying to get the hang of doing these little mini rear slides, like if you imagine going through cones and sliding your rear a little bit to get tighter turns. I'm trying to practice doing those little slide outs. Well, hadn't installed it in a while. I was doing the slide out thing and didn't use my clutch enough. It was my first attempt really doing it to the right instead of the left, which requires like just a different feels. Even though it's basically the same thing, it just feels very different. I must have either forgotten or just not clutched enough. Yeah, definitely comes more natural to me going left than right. Okay, I've been standing for too much. Even my feet are starting to feel it. Not so much pain. That was more like it felt like time to get some blood flow through the through the muscles, kind of thing. I want to find a really good off-road, like dirt practice area that's not too far, that ideally has a bunch of flat terrain, can set up cones, do things like that, but then also maybe some hills and some variation as well to practice things like turning around on hills and whatever. These trails are fun, but when it comes to practicing maneuvers, it's not necessarily ideal. I guess technically I could use this place for a little bit of practice, but it's pretty small. Something bigger would be better.
That'll be the end of the video. Thanks for watching.